G'day everyone, Turbo Tristan here. In today's video, this one's going to be a little bit of a mishmash. We've got quite a bit of stuff to do. He's an old friend. We're going to get to this in a future video. We're going to do a whole review on how this drives. If you haven't seen this car before, this is a D16 Y8 VTEC single cam that I did a engine conversion on. And it is now fuel injected instead of carby, and it's VTEC. So we'll get to that one in a later video. This is the extra spool up complex headquarters holding site. It's a secret location where we keep some stuff that we can't fit at my factory. So lucky enough to have that. But this episode, we're gonna get stuck into Ronda, and we're gonna do a little bit of stuff on my car because we actually sprung a leak after the dyno. So I'll show you how I fixed that. But today is all about Ronda. We've got to get her ready. We've got to do drive shafts, engine mounts. Every single engine mount except for maybe one was broken on the car. We're doing a throttle body upgrade and we'll bring you along for the ride. We're going to get stuck into that in just a second. Before we get into things today, I do have to fix a very small fuel leak. I'll throw a photo up of what it looks like. This is entirely my fault because I tried to do things the bodgy, cheap way, the old Turbo Tristan way, and just make something work when it shouldn't have. As you guys will know, on a Civic, they have one of these quick release fittings for the high pressure line, so the feed line. And I took that off and I just shoved a bit of hose over there and clamped it down. Now it did work not too bad, but when I pulled it off, it actually split the hose, and I shoved it back on. I didn't realize that it split underneath. So we actually dyno tuned my car with a split fuel line, and we actually found out as we took the car off the dyno that there was E85 on the ground, and E85 evaporates really quickly, so we didn't actually know, we couldn't actually tell. There was no like puddle on the floor because it was hitting the floor. It was like 35 degrees, probably closer to 40 degrees inside the shed when we dynoed the car. So it was just evaporating straight away because it's pretty much just alcohol. Yeah, we didn't realize until we pulled the car off the dyno that it had a split fuel line. But what I'm going to do now is I've gotten some RACEWORKS stuff here in this box, and I'm going to use this guy, which is a billet 5/16 female quick connect. This one has a alloy locking collar that doesn't require the plastic tab. I do actually also have in my little box of tricks the one with the plastic tab, just in case for some reason I decide to run this one, but I'm going to try it with this one first, as the guys from RACEWORKS recommended this one. They prefer this to the plastic quick release tag. So I'll just show you how that works. I'll pull this out. I need two hands and I'll stick it on there to make sure it all works and fits well. And then I'll throw it up in the car. I'll do it this way so I can teach you guys and show you an option. This is a -6 fitting. So it will mean that all of my fuel lines will be -6, giving me maximum flow, no pressure drop or anything like that. It's about 50% bigger fuel lines than factory, which is how we can get all of that power safely with E85 and not lose any flow or have any blockage in the lines. So the way this guy works is you actually put this fitting on the other side of this barb or whatever you want to call it, and then you screw on this piece and it tightens down and it creates a seal around there. So I'm going to do that now. Wow, that was really, really easy, and it's not going to pop off or go anywhere. So I'm going to now put this on the actual one that's in my car. I do also have to change the hose inside the tank, but I'll do that later on. I just want to get it running for now. I'll do that another time. I just want to make sure this is running and driving fine. Go put some fuel in it and we can check the fuel mixtures, make sure it's now not running too rich. Well, this is what it looks like now. I did try out these awesome fittings here. It was just a bit too long, so I've resorted to some fuel hose. I'm not sure how long that's going to last, but here is the fitting installed. -6 line straight out. So that is going back in the tank, and there's my bulkhead fittings, all wired up and ready to go. Alrighty, so one of the mods we're going to do today is we're going to fit a J35 64.6mm throttle body. This is a drive-by-wire throttle body. It is a direct bolt-on to the factory K24 A3 and A2 intake manifold. Now this manifold is designed for a 60mm throttle. This is a 64, pretty much a 65mm. So what I've done, I've used a grinder and a flapper disc, and I've given that a bit of a port and polish. It's not super duper perfect and accurate, but I just did it by eyeball. And I also cleaned up some of these ports as well, and gave it a really good clean to get all the gunk out. Not sure if you're going to be able to see in there, but it's pretty well clean as it's going to get. And we also have a new silicone joiner from RACEWORKS, because before we were going from 60mm up to 76mm, so, and now we're going from 3" to 3". So more flows happening right here. We're just waiting on the other team members, so John, Stig, and whoever else wants to come help out tonight in the secret location, so we can unlock Rhonda because they've got the keys, pull out the engine mounts, get the car on jack stands and get it done. Alrighty, so we are partially the way through taking out some of the engine mounts. John and Stig have been hard at work. I had to go get some gasket goo. The front one's out. It looked like it wasn't too bad. It was supporting the full weight of the engine, but check this out. Totally Bluetooth engine mount. So every single mount we've now confirmed. I thought this was the only good one, but every single one of them is broken. So we raced Rhonda for 6 hours at the racetrack with at least 2 or 3 engine mounts snapped, possibly all of them. But what we have to replace it though is Transgold rubber mounts. So they've sent these through. These are direct OEM replacement. We've got the top front driver's side, and these ones I believe are solid, so there's no more liquid filled. Is that right?
Not sure actually.
We get a yes and a maybe.
When we open them up, we can have a look.
Yep, so we'll have a look at that to see if it's liquid filled like the factory one. We're hoping that it's a solid rubber. And the rear one, the front one, we've got the 2 side ones, so there's a top and a bottom. Stig is hard at work figuring those out. And John's doing the top of gearbox one here as well. So far my job's been pretty easy. I just ducked home to get some gasket goo, and I've put the new throttle body onto the slightly ported manifold. Here's the factory one. And yeah, this is 60mm. This one is now ported out to 65. The throttle body is 64.9. And I'm just changing everything over now. We've got the new RACEWORKS 3" straight adapter there, so that's going to go on. And I've got the original map sensor here, and even the J32 one is the exact same part number, so if this one ever fails, we'll just quickly swap those over and we are sweet to go. Won't be running any of this because this is a race car. This is the heater for the idle controller and stops the throttle body freezing shut. And the other thing I did on the back here is I drilled out and tapped and put a stumpy little nut and bolt in here so it blocks off that vacuum line, because we don't need that anymore. On the other manifold I just had a screw stuck in there, seemed to work all right. And that's just for some pollution gear, so we've ditched that. One of the other major things that we had to get done tonight was changing out the driver's side drive shaft. Now I've cleaned up quite a bit of it, but we had grease and oil absolutely everywhere, all in this wheel well, which would have definitely affected our braking and could have been a disaster. Plus, we might have even exploded a CV because there was absolutely zero grease inside here. All of the boots, I've checked them, they look like they're intact. However, there's a small pinhole, and as you know, when grease gets hot, it turns into a liquid, and it was just squirting out everywhere and then caking onto the frame, inside the wheel, around the brake rotor, caliper, everything, and then it was getting turning into grease balls again. But as it was coming out, it was just liquid, just squirting everywhere, and we need to replace this. Plus this boot is pretty clapped out anyway. The bearings and stuff inside there are no good. So we turn to our friends at Bearing Wholesalers, who specialize in this sort of thing, and we've got two brand new shafts. We've got the outer passenger and the outer driver's side. The K24 runs an intermediate shaft or a mid shaft, which is perfect working condition. We're just going to do the outer shafts. These are brand new units, OE replacements with brand new nuts. We don't have to worry about damage on the splines. We don't have to worry about a nut coming undone because it's been taken on and off too much. And yeah, nice and strong. Bit of an improvement over the OEM. This one's even got a nice dust shield for the bearing, whereas this one doesn't have that at all. So I'll throw this one in and the other side, but big shout out to Bearing Wholesalers, BW, Driveshaft. If you guys need any, hit them up. These are top quality OE replacements.
Alright guys, so here we've got the old bush that just came out of Ronda, and as you can see, thanks Dick, as you can see, that is absolutely stuffed. Thank you sir. That's the amount of movement we have, and it's in just about every direction. You can see the bush is cracked there, and here we have the new bush. It's pretty solid in every direction. So we'll be able to put a whole lot more power down now, hopefully.
This is the whole reason that we decided to go and change all of the engine mounts, because I discovered that this one had the top snapped clean off. Did some more investigating and found that all of them were broken. It was a Bluetooth engine, it was just hanging in there. This is the brand new one, which again is from Transgold. Nice and high quality, and this one is a solid one. Come over here and have a look at this. So this one is full of liquid. This is what's inside the engine mounts. Absolutely disgusting. So it's hydraulic fluid. It's meant to get rid of NVH, or noise, vibration, harshness, but we don't care about that because we're going racing. These ones are solid rubber, and they're going to keep the engine in, which means we're going to be able to put all of that horsepower and torque back down to the ground. So the times Rhonda was doing last time compared to what she's going to do now, we're pretty much going to be on cruise control the whole race. But yeah, this one as well, top snapped clean out of it, full of this horrible brown oil. And then this is the driver's side one, same deal. That took no effort at all to rip that out. These can go in the bin. So I said this episode was going to be all over the shop. I've just been back down to elusive. Like I mentioned earlier, I did have a fuel leak, which I had to fix, which I've done now with those RACEWORKS fittings. That was all sweet. We just chucked the car on the dyno real quick. I didn't film it because we didn't get very far. My China TPS sensor has died, and I've gone to the billet K-tuned one, which on Kenny's recommendation is the best one you can get. So we're going to swap that over, check the calibration in the Haltech. Should be good. It's the same plug and all that stuff, and hopefully it reads the same voltage, and I'll just reset it in the Haltech, go for a drive and back on with the rest of the weekend, because I've got plenty of jobs to do. So I've just whipped off the TPS, real simple on these, real easy to change. This is the old one, just an eBay K20 TPS sensor. Nothing visually wrong with it, but I did give it a bit of a sniff, and it has that burnt electronics smell. Still sort of half kind of works, but unreliable, so that's going in the bin. This is the K-Tune billet one, which I got from Elusive. The billet part is really just the cover. Underneath it does look pretty similar, but you can feel it's got like this carbon graphite composite material as opposed to straight plastic. And you can hear it's got that harder sort of sound to it. The plastic's a lot more heat durable. So I'm going to slam that in now. Hopefully, fingers crossed, all the problems are solved. As you can see, there are no restrictions in the intake anymore. You can get right down in there. Everything's port matched. We've got a 5mm bigger throttle body, which should give us some gains on the racetrack. So that's going to wrap up all of the progress on Rhonda for this episode. Just to recap, we've done brand new trans gold engine mounts all the way around. Top, back, front, all done. And underneath, we've even got the ones to mount the subframe to the body, but we won't do that just yet. They're fine so far. Big shout out to RACEWORKS. We have put a 3-inch intake in with a 65mm throttle body. And again, just a shout out to Elusive. I went and grabbed one of their P2R thermal or thermatic gaskets, which suits the K24 manifold and the J35 throttle body that we have. And I've fixed up, there was a little, it's really hard to see, but behind the back of the little motor on the drive-by-wire throttle. I won't be able to show you on camera, but trust me, there is a small little idle control breather hole behind the motor for the drive-by-wire throttle that I had to fill up full of silicone, and we've plated off the throttle body with the thermatic gasket. So now the car idles fine, everything's all sweet, so you don't have to worry about any of that sort of stuff. This is now a direct bolt-on. I just used the original map sensor, which is actually the same part number for both of those. So now we have a spare. Switch that over if that ever gives us any trouble, but that's just blocking off that hole. I'm gonna have to kink over this one, which is a little idle control thing or a little pollution gear thing, which runs off a little sensor back there, but that's gonna get blocked up. And again, shout out to Elusive Racing. We just checked out my car, as you would have seen, and here is the K-Tune billet covered, high quality TPS sensor right there, front and center on the engine. And the car drives mint now. I just gave it a hit down the street and holy Jesus, 275 kilowatts is a lot in a front wheel drive car with China tires. So I learned my lesson. The poor man always pays twice. I'm gonna have to now go buy really good tires for the car. I had to buy a new TPS sensor because I cheaped out and got the eBay one. So don't do that. Don't do what Boosted Boys does. We now have all brand new sensors on the engine, and we're not gonna have any issues moving forward with those. Just lastly, head over to spoolup.com.au, grab yourself some Spool Up merch. We've got stickers. We've got the Spool Up S key rings, we've got injectors, we've got sensors, we've got coil packs, we've got brake pads, brake rotors, we've got bushes, we have a whole range of T7 K-swap parts. We've got the dress up parts like this, we've got the underdrive pulleys like that, we've got water plate kits, we have chain tensioner covers, all that sort of stuff that you're gonna need for your K-swap is there. Ready to go, battery relocate kits, heaps of stuff. The entire RACEWORKS catalog's on there, so if you need any pipes, sensors, switches, fittings, you can get yourself all of these types of fittings to make your own lines and everything, all on spoolup.com.au. Don't forget, bring the boost, spool up, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.